Welcome to RCS. I'm Dan.
I'm Nick.
And we're at Drivers Club. It's a nice day to be here.
It wasn't a nice day earlier.
No, it
raining
sucked earlier.
sideways. Yeah,
It's supposed to be nice coming up, though.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
You can go ride your motorcycle more.
What? I don't know what you're talking about.
Know what you're talking about?
I don't know what you're talking about.
All right.
I have no idea what you're talking
No
about.
clues?
Nope. Nope.
Me either.
Yeah, no, me either. Yeah.
I am looking for one right now.
I knew that was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
The funniest part was when I thought, I'll just go in on a Tuesday morning. No, was it Tuesday? Wednesday. And
Wednesday.
I'll go in morning. It'd be nice. And I walk in there, and I had looked at their website at I-90 and picked about 4 bikes that I wanted to see. And I walk in there, and there's a used Triumph Scrambler, and there's Brandon Ben Powell just grinning from ear to ear, sitting on it. And I'm like,
Drinking away, making up for last episode.
Yeah, I'll tell you. So I screamed at him. I was like, if you buy that, but no. So, I ended up with a 2018 Kawasaki KLR 650, which absolutely is a perfect bike for me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's a good old reliable.
Yeah.
It'll get you wherever you want to go.
I think there's going to have to be one little thing that I'm going to actually have to have you do. Apparently, have you ever heard of the doohickey? So it's the chain tensioner.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently, that's a thing that has to be done eventually. So.
Yep.
And it looks like it's a little bit of a open heart surgery. So we'll see.
A little bit. I don't know if you need to do it. Those bikes are pretty bulletproof.
Well, I mean, everything on the internet is saying that it needs to be done. But I mean, it's only got 1,400 miles on it. But so I'm not worried about it right now. But it's one of those things where, I'm going to take it a little bit easier with this than the Monkey, because this bike doesn't really need much, and it's going to be more of a fun going to the mountains dual track kind of thing. So.
Well, like I said, I think you'll have it for a year.
Maybe.
And then you'll love it.
Yeah.
But then you'll be like, now I want 200 pounds less.
Weight is an issue. I will say that.
That's a good starter bike, though.
But it came with a muffler system, which is good. It came with crash bars. I'm going to put some more crash bars on it, and then I'm going to put, like I told you, a little power inverter or power unit, just so I can power phones and things like that. So
you get your GPS up there.
Yeah.
Not so you can text while you're riding.
No.
I love that. What do you need a phone mount for? I'm like, because I don't know where I'm going. Like I'm.
So I finally got the Senna 50 into my helmet. It's taking a little bit to figure that out and get it, because as you know, I have a XXX helmet, and there was just enough space to put my head in there, and then you put like that on the side,
the mic boom,
and then you put the boom, and then you put the hair.
Headphones in, and
it's squishing my head a little bit right now. So we're working on that.
You get used to it, but it takes up a little bit of space.
I'm just going to beat the inside of the hammer. It's fine.
I've done similar things.
That foam is used to that kind of stuff. So.
I've cut out a little bit of the foam before on some old helmets.
Yeah. There's just enough foam to be around my big head, so I don't know if I want to cut any out. So we're good. Yeah.
Yeah. So the problem with dual sports is they typically fall into 2 categories, and they don't do both well. Mm-hmm. Dual sport is like either a dirt bike with a plate, and it's really kind of terrible to ride on the road, but it's awesome off-road. Or they're kind of a street bike with knobbies, and where they're great on the road and they do okay on a gravel road, but there's not a lot in the middle. And so that's what I'm struggling with right now. It's because I miss riding like actual dirt bike riding, but I'm looking like, am I still doing single track? Is that really still me anymore?
I don't want to do it's ironic because I've got the KL 650, and then Sarah bought the Suzuki DR 650, which is the two closest to the middle you can get as far as, and the Suzuki's better off-road, and the KLR is better on-road. So
I'm looking at this KTM 690 or the Husqvarna 701, which has been on my list for years, by the way.
Yeah, I looked at those too up north. I did look at those, and then I looked at the price and went, oh, okay.
Yeah, but I mean,
it's worth it.
For example, as I say, the reason the KTM and the Husqvarna, which are the same, not the same bike, but they're based off of
it's the same engine, isn't it?
Yeah, they're basically the same bike with different tuning, suspension, and engine-wise. A couple tiny differences, but they are dirt specific. They really are. And so I'm wondering, like, would I be making a mistake if I went that way? I mean, but granted, they're 200 pounds less than the KLR and the DR 650. 200, not 20, 200, which is an insane amount. But I'm buying the highest end of the dirt bike range. So I don't know. I'm still looking. But we'll see.
You're part of the reason, like I said, when Sarah and I sat down and started talking about it, because we said, look, we know we want bikes that'll be comfortable enough to ride to the trail, and then we want to do, dual track. We don't really want to be.
Yeah, you want fire roads.
I'm not really ever going to put boxes on the back of this. I've got it comes a little box, so it's narrower. But like when I looked at the KTM 630 or 650 or
690,
690, because I thought about that too. But then I'm like, well, it's not going to be that comfortable getting to the trail, and a lot of
no wind protection.
Yeah,
you can put that on it, of course. But we can get it. We could talk bikes forever, and we probably will. There's a couple people I want to get on the show in the motorcycle world. There's a rider out of enduro rider out of Portland I've been following online. she does some pretty awesome adventures. I'd love to have her on the show.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people from that industry still. But, yeah, anyway, if you're a motorcycle rider, let us know what you want us to talk about. That definitely crosses into our world, and obviously we're doing more of that and getting ready for the Monkey Enduro, which is going to be awesome.
I will say this, and then I will get off the motorcycle topic. I'm so used to driving the Monkey, and there's I'm shifting on my new bike at 2,500, 3,000 RPMs because it sounds like my Monkey is doing 50, but so yeah, it's not good.
That's funny.
Yeah.
We're just dying over here to my nose.
Sorry. Yeah. No, freaking allergy season kicked in, and all of a sudden, It
really is. Yeah. Everything went into bloom. I mowed my yard the other day, and it was just this dust everywhere. I was like, God damn it. I can't breathe.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yeah.
What do you got for our Carter Subaru tip of the day? I know it's something fun.
Well, first I have a special shout-out to Carter, who helped our friend Jeremy out. Jeremy with Salvo Design is who did our logo for RCS and a bunch of our rebranding. He had some work done on his 14 Crosstrek, so much older Crosstrek, much out of warranty, and they helped him out and got him through right away. He was very happy with the service he received there, so I do want to thank them a lot. That helped out a friend of ours and obviously a sponsor of ours, which makes us very happy. So
they have a great service department.
Yes, they do. So I appreciate them for doing that.
And he can walk home from there.
Right. Exactly. So nice. Yeah, but he had a nice loaner though, so he's super happy.
Yeah.
Now he wants a new Outback, so that works. You know what that's like.
We all do.
Yeah.
I mean, we've driven that. I like that new Outback a lot.
Yeah, it's actually a really functional vehicle.
Yeah.
But our Carter Subaru tip of the week is taken a little bit from Avance Off-Road. And I'm laughing because every time somebody posts about Avance Off-Road, there's the running joke, which is true, that I occasionally smell burning.
Not occasionally.
Yeah. And that is because the Avance Off-Road events run outside Dirtfish. And at one point, there was a ton of topsoil and bark left there. And unlike conventional off-road mudding, you get a bunch of this stuff kicked up on your skid plates and it sticks in there, and because a lot of it is wood, occasionally catches fire. Little tiny fires.
Right between your skid plate and your exhaust.
Yeah, where it's shoved between your cat and your exhaust. Catalytic converter, not a real cat. That'd be terrible.
Just so we're clear, I was the first one to catch the bark under my car on fire. So yeah.
And we tell people relentlessly, you have to go drop your skid plates or go to a car wash and really climb under there and spray that stuff out.
Drop your skid plates, because I tried the blowout thing. It did not work.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I dropped mine, and I laughed because I was like, oh, my truck is clean and spotless. Nope, dropped it still more. It just never ends. Never ends. 3 months, 6 months later now? Yeah. We're still pulling bark out?
Yeah.
Anyway, it reminded me about one of the most essential things that everybody should have in their car. And this is one of those things that goes forgotten, and people kind of roll their eyes. But chances are you will hopefully never need it for yourself, but eventually you will find a reason to have one, and that is a fire extinguisher. And if you get into the real high end of the performance lines like Porsche, they offer a factory fire extinguisher mount right in front of the passenger seat. Like, it's a factory option. A lot of them mount from the roll bars, but these are factory options you can get in a lot of high-end performance cars.
And this is not a fire suppression system. This is an actual
just a fire extinguisher. You pull the pin, spray it like you would in the kitchen, that kind of thing. It's one of those things that everybody should have in their car. I have not had to deal with it. I take it back. That is not true. Now that I said it, I remember it. I did have a fire in one of my cars once.
Okay.
And that was in my old RX-7. Shocking.
What?
Right?
No, those don't catch fire.
It was not the fault of the car for once, even though those things have a self-destruct mission from the factory. This was actually the previous owner had wired in an amp or something, and it wasn't grounded properly, and it arced, and it caught the insulation on fire in the back compartments. They don't have seats in the U.S., but they have these little compartment trays. Luckily, I saw the smoke, and the only reason I was able to put it out was because I had a bottle of water in the car. And so, which is great in an electrical fire, but it was the insulation, thank God. So that actually did put it out.
I think I was putting an amp in my car and touched a live positive to a negative, and it burned all the way through the carpet from the front of the Subaru all the way to the back of the wagon in my 92. So I know, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was fun to explain when I sold it.
Right.
What's that black line? Nothing.
Nothing. Don't worry about it. Yeah. Accidents happen, though.
Yeah.
And so even if you're, an amateur doing stereo install work or LED lighting install, which I have seen a car burn to the ground because of a bad LED light install. They tried soldering them to the board behind the AC controls.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't quite right. Yeah, actually, it saw a car burn to the ground because of that. But, I mean, you drive long enough, you're going to see a vehicle fire on the side of the road. And chances are you're going to wish you had that fire extinguisher pull out, or whoever you drove by is wishing you did. There's standard equipment in every fire truck, aid car, big rig out there, and pretty much every construction vehicle you can for a reason. So if you want one, you should get one. They're pretty cheap. You can do a really basic seat mount in front of the passenger seat or behind the passenger seat. Or if you've got a roll bar, you can get roll bar mounts. Obviously, if you're in a truck, you get a lot more options. But one of the newest things I want to encourage people to look into, if you just don't want to mount a fire extinguisher in your car, which I get, it takes up space. I understand why people don't do it. I still think it's worth it. These new things called fire sticks. What they are is they work oddly sort of like a road flare, except they spray fire extinguisher stuff all over everything. I think they're Class C. I'm not a fire extinguisher. Some expert.
Nothing is better than some.
Yeah, where's Roy Katz?
Something is better than nothing.
It's the generic kind that'll put out basically any fire. Is what they are, and they go for anywhere from 30 seconds to a full minute. These things will run, so more than a regular standard fire extinguisher even. And most of these are waterproof, shockproof. Like, you don't have to worry about recharging. You literally just strike them and they go a long time. They were featured on actually Jay Leno's Garage about 2 years ago. Remember when I first saw them. And I'm seeing them more places off-road especially because you can just fit them anywhere. Obviously keep them somewhere convenient, but they can have these little magnetic mounts. I mean,
don't keep them with your road flares. That'll just add to the fire. Exactly.
Wrong one. Yeah, but you can get these little fire extinguisher sticks. They're not cheap. I mean, they think they're about $50 to $80. So
if you can save the car, it's cheaper.
But yeah, I was going to say, if you look at the cost of your car, like putting out a fire with one of those is going to save you tens of thousands of dollars, if not, hopefully your insurance claim is cheap. But either way, it's going to save you a lot of headache to do that, and you might save somebody else's car.
If you own a luxury Italian supercar,
you need one of these.
You definitely need one of these because I'm not going to say the brand, but they tend to like to catch on fire, especially when they sit there and rev at a light. They need air. Yeah.
Why is the bumper black?
I don't know.
Weird.
That's weird.
Is the plastic's on fire and dripping? I've seen that.
Smoking. Yeah.
So yeah, in Monterey Car Week, we have seen cars catch on fire for that. That's funny. They are always Italian too.
Yep. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I have no idea why they would do that. Anyway, so Carter Subaru Tip of the Week. Get yourself a fire extinguisher. At the very least, get a cheap one from any parts store, Walmart, Amazon, whatever. Just a fire extinguisher matters. Trust me, you will be glad you had it. At some point, you will use it. I promise. It might take you 20 years. You might need to recharge it a few times, but you will use it.
Also, and somebody will remain nameless on this. If you put a fire extinguisher in your car, attach it to something. If it's in the back and it's rolling around, pins can get pulled and they will go off. I'm just saying.
So, I have seen that happen.
Uh-huh.
That's hilarious to watch, actually. Yep. Not much
if you're
in
the car and then the back side. No, okay. I mean, hypothetically, of course, yeah.
Yeah. You don't want to mess with the fire extinguisher. Anyway, we have a special guest today, and our guest is Zach Mauden from Achtuning. Welcome to the show, Zach.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
Welcome. I've always seen your guys' shop because unfortunately some of my cars have spent time at Benchmark and I'm driving by, I'm just like drooling, trying not to run into another car.
Yeah.
Because you guys you got your shop up there in Woodinville.
We're in Redmond.
I'm sorry, Redmond.
Yeah, I think you're talking about the other place right off the highway.
No, I'm talking about you. I'm just it's got the cold medicine is going to my head. It's nice. Yeah.
Nick's still not with us entirely.
Was he here before? No.
So. Zach, tell us about Achtuning in general for the people who don't know Achtuning or aren't Audi, Volkswagen, etc. enthusiasts. You guys do more than that. We'll talk about that in a minute. But tell us about Achtuning.
Yeah, so we're a full-service facility. We focus primarily on Volkswagen and Audi, but we expand our services. We do a lot of BMW, Porsche. We've been doing a lot of Jaguar more recently, a little bit of Land Rover stuff, tuning related. We can get into that as well. But we do everything. We kind of consider ourselves a full-service facility, but with a focus on performance. So when someone comes in, we're a dealer alternative, but we also are a performance facility in that we do a lot of software, brakes, suspension, alignment, and then we have our own company within that, Hartman Wheels. So we manufacture and distribute our own wheels for Volkswagen and Audi and a little bit of Porsche stuff as well. So that kind of loosely encompasses everything that we do.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Right. I've always thought of you guys as Volkswagen and Porsche. I mean, some of the stuff that comes out and Audi and all that. So.
Yep. Yeah, Volkswagen and Audi first and foremost for sure is like our bread and butter. But when it comes to like suspension and brakes, that really applies to everything. I mean, we've been doing more American stuff. So everything from, GT 500 and then, like I said, a lot more Jaguar recently because some of our tuning providers have catered to that. So we've broadened our horizons a little bit to help kind of take care of some of our customers that have expanded their lineup a little bit.
So how did it all get started? You said you guys have been around for around 20 years now?
Yeah, since 2001, really.
2001, okay.
Yep. Yeah, so our owner, Bill, he actually purchased the company from a couple of guys that were local here and kind of turned it into what it is today. And we've always been located in Redmond, but we moved, I think it was 6 years ago now, we moved our facility, and we're right next to Queen City Automotive now, which a lot of people that are listening to are very familiar with.
And that's what I meant, not benchmark, just so we're clear. I realized that. He's like,
there you go.
I'm like, why the freeway? No. Oh, God, I did say that. Sorry. My apologies. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's you guys really came right around the time of the water-cooled craze for Volkswagen. Like, there was kind of a lull. I remember back in high school, like, the Volkswagen scene had just kind of started, but it was just after that where the European tuner and sport compact car started embracing more of the performance side of the Volkswagen Audi brand.
Yep.
And so what are you driving?
Well, so nowadays I'm a truck guy, right? So I daily drive a Tundra. But prior to that, I had a Golf R that was fully stage 2. I had water methanol injection, and I spent a lot of time on the track with that car, and I really did everything with it. That was one of my favorite cars that I've ever had at the end of the day, just because it was so versatile. I as you guys have seen in Avance, the Golf R is one of the most popular cars, and it's funny because a lot of our customers, they have a lineup of 5 or 10 cars that include GT3s and Raptors and everything like that, but many of them actually have Golf Rs as their daily drivers, and it's because they're just such a good car to get in, but they're quick, and they're also a little bit understated, and they're so capable when you start doing some of the things to them, tuning and suspension and brakes and things like that, and they're also really cost-effective as well.
Yeah,
that's a huge community around here, and it's a good community. I mean,
Cameron just sold his, which I'm still mad at him for.
Okay.
He got the Toyota Tacoma. That fits in more than he's all about.
Tacoma or Tundras, that's what you got to upgrade from the Golf to something that could haul a Golf.
Yeah. But that was one of the most fun cars I drove. He had the massive big brake kit on it, and so I wanted a Golf R, and my girlfriend, of course, was like she didn't want the Golf. She wanted something a little more grown up, as she stated. So we got an S3.
Okay, so same exact car, but not a hatchback.
But not a hatchback. Yes, exactly. The more grown up Golf. Yeah. And so, which I love the S3. So, but of course,
a great car.
I was going to ask you about that because obviously you guys are the experts. I have this S3. A lot of our listeners are going to have Golf Rs. What do you think the most cost-effective mod I should start with?
It's easily a tune. I mean, hands down, bang for your buck. You spend $600 and you can get yourself 60 horsepower to the wheels, and from there, I mean, everything is incremental, but you just can't beat that for the money. And it's funny because a lot of our customers, they put the tune on the car and they're like, wow, this is what it should have felt like from the factory. This is what it needed to wake it up and make it much more responsive. But then you're opening yourself up to kind of that spiral of the mod bug that you get, and you're like, well, I just want a little bit more and a little bit more. And
we don't suffer from that.
None of us know what we're talking about here. So, but yeah, by far the tune is the best thing that you can do with your money for those cars.
And I mean, and I know we actually talked about this a little bit when they first got the S3. The manufacturers are kind of onto these tunes. You can't take them on and off, and they know you've done things to them. So it's sort of something that you're going to have to, it's worth the horsepower, it's worth the fun, but you may have some warranty issues going down the road.
Yeah.
Not because things are going to break, but they're going to know you did it.
Sure. Yeah, if keeping your factory powertrain warranty intact is super important to you, then a tune isn't your best option. And there's other ways around that. There's things you can do that's kind of a halfway point, like a piggyback, where you can still get some horsepower to the car. It's not actually flashing the ECU.
Yeah.
You're not going to have that line of code within the ECU that's changed and altered so that the manufacturer can see it. But there's also other options and alternatives that we offer to help cater to those customers that do want to keep a warranty intact. So APR, one of our main tuning providers, they offer APR Plus. And so basically, you pay roughly double the cost of a regular Stage 1 tune, but what you get is a warranty with that. So what they do is they give you a warranty that matches your factory powertrain warranty. So if you get let's say, for example, you brought your S3 to us and you still had, 2 years and 50,000 miles left on your factory powertrain, and you said, I want to keep this intact, you do APR Plus, and then if something were to happen to your car that would regularly be covered under a factory powertrain warranty but isn't because it's tuned, you bring it to us, and APR covers that because that was the additional money that you paid for on that coverage. So there's actually a really cool offering in that regard that allows people to still tune the car and still feel like, okay, I have some safety here in case, for example, worst case scenario, my engine blows up or something, and now I'm out $10,000. Well, no, you're covered from APR Plus. So
do they have
there's options.
Deductible on that?
No. You just pay
Awesome.
You just pay the tune cost.
Hey, they're listening. That's a good thing.
That's great.
They are.
I mean, that's a wonderful, because the other times it's like, yep, thanks, we're sorry, our tune blew up your car, but have a nice day.
You might need a fire extinguisher.
Yep.
Yeah.
Get a fire stick.
Yeah. I mean, for what it's worth, though, I mean, we've tuned at this point hundreds of Golf Rs and S3s, and yeah, I mean, with any vehicle that you see, you're going to have issues. You're going to have certain cars and exceptions to the rule that have problems. But in all reality, those cars have actually been really good. They all have their common issues and their small things. But in terms of like catastrophic failure, not something we see super often.
And to me, that's going to come down to a factory issue and the fact that you're going to have a defective block or something that's not necessarily the tune's fault.
Usually the turbos.
Yeah. When they eat themselves,
Yeah, well, and that's really common on the S6, for example. So they have the issue with the turbo oil screens, which basically regulates oil pressure to the turbos. And so when we get an S6 customer that comes to us and they say, well, I want to tune the car and I want to do all this, and say, are your oil screens done yet? No? Okay, well, then we're not going to tune your car because we want to take care of our customers. At the end of the day, it's not about us getting every dollar out of the customer. We want to make sure people are taken care of and they have a car that's reliable, and that's first and foremost.
That's a really good thing to bring up. Let's take our first break. We're a little overdue for that, but when we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about what goes into a tune. We went over it briefly one time on the show, but I would love to hear it from an expert, and then I'd love to get to know you a little bit more. So we'll be right back.
Grandpa, what do you call this thing again?
It's a 66 Ford Bronco.
I think you got ripped off.
Why is that, honey?
It's got no Wi-Fi, no USB port, no Bluetooth.
Exactly. I guess we'll just have to talk.
Sometimes the best way to connect is to disconnect.
Is that the window button?
It's called a window crank.
Cool. The faster I move it, the faster it goes down.
This moment of escape was created by Haggerty.
Being old is kind of cool, Grandpa.
Works for me.
For people who love cars.
All right. So we were talking about tunes when we left off.
Welcome back.
No, welcome back.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
Anyway, so tell me, what is a tune actually doing? Is it just raising boost level and adding fuel?
That's a small portion of the equation there. So part of, and we don't actually develop the tunes.
Right.
So the companies that we utilize, which is APR and Unitronic and Velocity AP and Dynon and things like that, they spend a lot of time doing the development. So they put cars on the dyno and they spend, however many hundreds of hours, and they put all these sensors throughout the vehicle to spend time developing and monitoring a tune that's going to be safe, reliable, but also make the power that you want for the money that you're paying for. And so boost and fueling and timing and all these different things go into it. I've actually spent time on a dyno with a tuner before, and it's really an art when you watch somebody do that, and because there's all these different factors that play into it, and at the end it creates this product that gives you a well-refined, a tune that gives you something that you're happy with, and a car that is consistent, something that you can drive down the street, you're going to get on it, and you know what you're going to get out of it. And ECUs and computer software has come a long way in vehicles. I was a Subaru guy before, and the ECUs were so simple. Yeah, I see your face over there. Yikes. Yeah.
They go fast if you drop them off a cliff.
Yeah. Right before the cylinder blows. But
and the head gaskets.
Yeah, the head gaskets. Yeah. The ECUs have come so far, so they can also adapt in a lot of ways, and they can pick up a little bit of the slack. But in reality, they just spend so many hours. These companies spend so many hours developing a product that they know that they can sell thousands of customers, and that it's going to be reliable, and that they can put their name on. And that's the kind of companies that we stand behind, and APR is one of those that we've been working with for a long time.
And I think a lot of people don't understand that, everything from your Toyota Camry, when they come from the factory, those engines are capable of more.
Way more. Yeah.
Way more. They're detuned for insurance and for safety and things like that. So
mainly for mileage.
Well, and a lot of it's through the EPA.
But a lot of people go, well, if I go put a tune on my car, it's going to blow up the engine. Well, no, it's capable of that. Just like when you put a tune on it, like you said, and it's increasing, the fuel mapping and stuff like that, your stock fuel pump will keep up with it to a point.
To a point.
Then that's when you have to start physically putting parts and things on the car.
Sure.
I didn't know. Are you guys a Dynon dealer?
We are. So Dynon and AP are actually owned by the same company, which is Holley.
Okay.
Oh,
so
I didn't know that.
Holley purchased APR and Dynon. I think this was about almost 2 years ago now.
So this is relatively recent.
Relatively recent, and APR and Dynon are actually at the same facility in Alabama now.
They moved it out of California. I didn't know that.
No, Alabama.
But I thought Dynon used to be in California for years.
They might have been, yeah, but they moved their headquarters to APR because APR's resources that they have there, I've actually been to APR's facility.
Great. Oh, cool.
Their dyno and all the developmental stuff that they have there is really broad. So I think what they wanted to do is they wanted to put Dynon under the same umbrella and utilize all those things that they were doing. And I think it's increased the level of product that Dynon has been able to produce.
That's really cool. I mean, I used to have a 10-point Dynon car, so I went through all of that. But I went through the dealership back when it's the only place you could go. So that's neat to know that they have expanded and then been bought out. So
yeah, I can see why Holly did that, getting into the game. It's like that's a great crossover for them.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, once you put all that time and all that effort and all that money into a tune, then you can start making money eventually. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Holly's no stranger at that. So, Zach, tell us more about you. How did you get into cars, and what road led you to Achtuning?
Well, I started at the beginning. So prior to even me being, conceived, my grandfather actually raced up Pikes Peak in the 60s and 70s. Yeah. So that's where it really starts. So my family is a racing family. So my grandfather raced up Pikes Peak in the 60s and 70s, and he was racing against some of the Andrettis and the Unsers at the time. And he had an air-cooled Volkswagen that he put a huge turbo on, and he was one of the first people to ever put a turbo on an air-cooled Volkswagen. Thing ran on methanol. Cool. It made like 40 pounds of boost. And when you're in Colorado at that level of altitude, you need all the power you can get. I don't know how familiar you guys are with Pikes Peak and what goes into that.
Dan is very familiar.
I've driven up it, yeah.
Oh, very cool. Yeah. So I've been up it too, but I've never raced it. It's on the bucket list. But yeah, so that was kind of where that started. And then one of my uncles was one of the kind of OGs, I guess you could say, of the Northwest sprint car scene as well. And so when I was a kid, my family was just super into racing, and I got a go-kart when I was, 4 years old. And it just spiraled from there. It was kind of like a natural thing for me. And I ended up starting racing cars when I was 6. So I raced quarter midgets for almost 10 years. Really competitively, had 2 cars, 2 classes, and did national championships and all that kind of stuff. And then moved into half-size NASCAR and did that for a while. And then from there, I've just continued to do track days and kind of get any competitive racing that I can because, racing is just absolutely my favorite thing, so nothing comes close.
In your family, was racing a business or was racing a hobby kind of thing?
It was always a hobby, but it was a business in a way because, like, when my grandpa raced in Pikes Peak, he had his gas station right there in Colorado Springs, and everything that he could do, all his money that he had was funneled towards his racing program. Because as we all know, the only way to get rich in racing is to start being wealthy. So
making a small fortune in racing and start with a large one. Yeah.
Exactly. So
Wow.
There's a lot to unpack there, but yeah.
No, that's really cool though. Yeah, so it's in your blood for sure. You said you did track days in your Golf R. What are you gonna get next?
Right now, so I'm actually more into the off-road world now because after I got rid of the Golf R, I bought a Can-Am, so I've got an X3 with the turbo on it.
Yeah, those are a ton of fun.
That changed everything for me because as much as I love track days and I love interacting with our customers and being out there and everything that came with that, the freedom aspect that I got once I got the Can-Am was just a whole different thing. And the off-road world, I was used to intentionally trying to stay on the ground. And so when you add a factor of like, okay, well, now we can jump the car and now we can do all these other things. And now you have, 2 feet of travel. It just opened up this whole other world to me. And so I'd like to do more competitive racing than Can-Am. I actually, last summer, did some rallycross at Dirtfish, and that was really, really cool. And so I think I want to get a little bit more into the off-road world, but of course, Pikes Peak is always on the bucket list, so I got to figure that out.
Well, you can side-by-side up Pikes Peak.
You can. So I think they actually don't have a side-by-side class yet.
I feel like it's coming.
And I think it's coming for sure. And so I would like to be a part of that one way or the other. Whatever it is, I got to make that happen. It's my grandpa actually still has his race car, and so he would love to see that happen and watch that go down.
Yeah, that Can-Am world has come out of nowhere. It's like, we have golf carts, and now we have things that'll just,
yeah.
And I'm like, and it's run by a small rubber belt. Yeah, okay, what could go wrong?
Yep, 100%. They are glorified golf carts. It's funny because I've had the whole front end.
Snowmobile engines.
Yeah,
snowmobile engines in a turbo.
Yeah, turbo.
Yeah, I've had mine all the way apart, and when you get down to the bare bones of it, you're like, oh my God, there's not that much here at all. And this thing's 0 to 60 in 4 seconds. This is insane.
Yeah, it's lightweights, turbo, and all suspension. You're paying the majority of the price is in the suspension.
Oh,
yeah.
100%.
If you look at it, it's just like
it's all in the drive.
It's not for the interior that you can wash out with a hose.
Yeah. Yeah.
We had that one that came out to
Justin Wilson.
Justin Wilson.
Yeah. So Justin. So I know Justin. He's actually we've done some side by side stuff together.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And he actually has a very similar model to the one that I have.
We couldn't even tell what color his was when he left the track last time at Dirtfish. So
yeah. Used to be orange and black, not anymore. It's brown now.
Well, no, I mean, it was, you could. So was he.
Yeah, we've had Justin on the show, and we've had his fabricator, our friend Keith Northrup, on the show, which you also know.
Yep, Keith's a good friend of mine.
Yeah, so you guys are all in that same world then.
Yeah, so and I can loop back to the question of kind of how I ended up at Achtuning. So, and that's where I met Keith. So, I started. Well, so it's funny. I'll tell this story because I was thinking on my way here, like, how did I end up where I am today?
How did I
get here? And I really started breaking it down. And I remember this specific moment when I was a kid and I was watching the very first Fast and Furious. And
we all remember that.
And it was a scene where Paul Walker was in that speed shop. And I remember watching him, and I was like,
Hector's.
Yeah, Hector's. And I was like,
right after he ran the lightning into the curb.
Yep. And he was selling parts, and he's doing all this stuff, and he's got his street racing on the side, and he's kind of living this life. And I remember as a kid thinking, like, I want to do that. Like, that looks really cool to me. That lifestyle looks awesome. And I guess subconsciously that kind of always stuck with me as cliche. I mean, everyone's got their Fast and Furious, influence in their life, but that really stuck with me. So, right out of high school, I opted, instead of going to college, I was like, I know that I can make it without going to college with the things that I want to do, And so I was like, I need to get my foot in the door at a speed shop. I just got to figure out how I can start working my way up the chain. And I love sales and marketing and working with customers and everything that comes with that. And so right out of high school, I started working at Speedwear. And I don't know how familiar you guys are with Speedwear, not around anymore. But I kind of started there just as like a shop hand, I guess you could say. And that's where I met Keith. So Keith started working at Speedwear right around the same time. And
he was fabricating there.
He was fabricating there. Yeah, I think that was actually like his first shop that he ever really worked at as a real fabricator. That was his beginning there. And then I ended up getting into a sales role, and I went from there. So I worked at Speedwear for a couple of years, and then I actually worked from there. I went to Cantrell Motorsports, and I worked there for a few years, and then I worked at a tech company for a little bit. And kind of realized, like, okay, I got to get back into the car world. Like, I thought for a little bit maybe I was intertwining, like, my love and my passions with my career, and I was. And then when I got away from it, I realized, like, that was a mistake. I really actually need to be doing this. And so after that, I got my opportunity at Achtuning, and our service manager at Achtuning, Kelly, who a lot of people are hyper familiar with, he's been around for so long, we worked together at Speedwear as well. So when I came to him and was like, hey, like, is there an opportunity here for me? He was like, yeah, like, let's do this. And so I've been at Achtuning for 4.5 years now. I
feel like it's such a small community here. It's like everybody's worked at the same places. 425 Motorsports, Speedwear, Cantrell, what's our friends over in the peninsula? Dundon.
So you know what's funny is all these places originally they all worked at Speedwear at one point. So
exactly.
Dan was like one of the originals at Speedwear, and so was Colin. And then they split off and did their own thing and started their own companies and did their own iteration on what Speedwear should have been.
So Speedwear just hired too many independent people that could get it done without Speedwear. I get it.
That's part of it. That's part of it.
I understand.
We could unwind that for a long time.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So the side-by-side stuff, what have you done to the truck?
The Tundra?
Yeah.
So the Tundra, I actually kept relatively stock, but I added airbags. And last summer what I did was I wanted to get a camper for the truck. When I realized, well, I bought a half-ton, so that was kind of a stupid thing to do. So then I started looking at options, and there aren't any really for that truck unless you buy like a pop-up, and I wasn't willing to do that because one of the things that I'm also really into is snowboarding. I go snowboarding every weekend, so I was like, a pop-up's not really going to work for kind of what I want to do in terms of snow and wet and just weather and all that kind of stuff.
It'll work once.
Yeah, it'll work once,
and
then
it'll look like an old shower curtain.
Exactly. So then I found a 1986. It was a 1986 Pilgrim Camper, and it was from the factory under 1,000 pounds, and it was like a full hard side camper. And it was originally actually built to fit on a 80s Toyota Tacoma. And so that's why it was so light, because those trucks obviously can't carry a ton. So this thing was like OEM, bone stock, 1986, colorway, interior, everything, and I got it, and I picked it up from the guy, and I brought it home, and I spent a month, like, every night till 3 o'clock in the morning renovating this thing and redoing it to make it look legit, but also to fit my truck, because it just doesn't fit. You know, the side of my bed was way too tall. It just didn't work. I needed to make the jack plates wider to make the truck fit in between the jacks, and so Keith was, you know, one of the people that kind of helped me with that a little bit, and ended up renovating this thing and had the camper on the truck, paint matched it to, I got a cement gray Tundra, so I paint matched it to that and kind of redid everything. And I wanted something that we could take to the sand dunes, something that we could take to the mountains every weekend. And so the mistake that I made, well, it wasn't a mistake, but during the process, I was like, why am I doing this? Was I scraped every square inch of like all the silicone and all the old sealant and everything off, and that took me so long. Yeah. Resealed it all, repainted everything, put it all together, got it on the truck, and it worked out really well. I actually just sold it like a week ago, the camper.
Oh, why did you sell it?
So actually,
all that work.
I know. So all that work, it was great, but actually,
it was the project more than anything.
It was. Yeah. It was the process, and I learned so much throughout that, and so that was really cool. But I only got rid of it because my girlfriend and I are actually. We just sold our house. We're kind of getting rid of everything, and we're about to actually embark on like an RV lifestyle. So we're buying a 4x4 Super C, and we're going to go just get after it.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
I'm really excited, yeah.
It's
big. It's a life change, right? And you're going from like a house to, you know, an RV, but
side by side on the trailer?
We're going to have an enclosed trailer, so that'll be part of the equation. I want to pull that around and go check out, you know, Nevada and Utah and Wyoming and all that.
I was going to say,
Matt Foley life, living in a van down by the river.
Living in a van by the river.
That's nice.
Idaho and Utah are going to be calling your name.
Yeah, I've got a lot of family in Idaho, so that's part of it. But I've seen so many cool areas in Utah that like I'm just drawn to that area, and Wyoming too.
Something tells me he'll end up somewhere in Colorado. I don't know where.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, somewhere over there, Big Hill somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, there's like 200 miles of roads right outside of Alpine, Wyoming you can go to that you'll never see anybody on, and there's which we know of, and then Utah Backcountry Discovery Route is basically just like everything east of Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
Because they're open to it. Like,
yeah, Utah's a huge hub for that.
Yeah, they don't care. They're just like, you're going to drive it on rock, do whatever you want.
What, are you going to break a rock?
Yeah. They're like, go for it. Yeah, I love it out there. It's I'm
envious.
Yeah,
that sounds absolutely fabulous. And
yeah,
it sounds like a lot of fun. So
appreciate that. It's going to be a big change. It's funny because like before I met my girlfriend, I had this idea to do this solo. I was like, I want to go live this life. I've kind of had this calling or whatever. And then one day I sat her down and I was like, just give me 15 minutes to like pitch you this idea. And I pitch it to her, and then the next day she's like, let's do it. And I was like, oh, it's real now. Like now we're committed.
Oh crap! Somebody else is gonna make me do this.
She's holding me accountable for this now.
Yeah.
So yeah, like we kind of started doing all the research into what this RV was going to look like and what our options were. I knew I needed 4-wheel drive, so that really slimmed down our options. And So
what'd you end up settling on?
So originally I was just going to buy a Class C, and they actually don't really sell Class Cs that are 4-wheel drive out of the box. So I was going to buy this company, U-Joint Off-Road, makes a 4x4 conversion kit that you can lift it up, put 4x4 on it, and go anywhere you want. And then I drove a Class C with like the new Ford 7.3 liter, they call it the Godzilla motor.
Yep.
And it just didn't do it for me. I was like, I'm still in a van chassis in the front seat, and like this thing's naturally aspirated. Like it's got 450 horsepower, but it just wasn't going to do it. I was like, we're going to lug across the country. Like we have plans to go to the Daytona 500. It's like, what am I going to do? I'm going to go to Florida and just like have this thing floored the whole way, towing the side by side if we're going anywhere. So went back to the drawing board, and now we ended up landing. There's this company called Dynamax, and they make 4-wheel drive out of the box, Class C turbo diesel. So it's built on the Ram 5500 chassis with the 6.7 liter Cummins turbo diesel.
Yeah.
So great foundation.
And highly tunable.
EPA doesn't know, but yeah.
Look away. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what we ended up landing on, and they have this specific one, and tell me if I'm getting too far into this. I can talk about this stuff forever. It's Explorer package.
No, this is giving me time to go to their website.
There you go.
Yeah,
So it's the Dynamax Asada 530 FW, and this one's the Explorer package. Yeah, so it's that, but the Explorer package.
Oh, that's sweet.
That looks horrible.
Yeah, I'm like, I want one of those.
Yeah, I'll take 2.
Yeah. So the Explorer package is cool because it comes with 800 watts of solar on the roof, an 8,000 watt generator. Like the walls are special insulated, everything's thermal lined, so you're not going to have issues in sub-freezing temperatures.
You still get a queen or king size bed.
Queen size bed in the back, and then you have like an overhead bunk.
Pretty cool.
We've got a dog. We've got a dog with us too, so like we needed a little bit of space. But the 4-wheel drive was like that was non-negotiable for me because when it comes to the snow, I'm just not putting on chains. I'm just not doing that. Like I need to click a button and we need to plow through this and keep going. And so like it's kind of crazy that industry, because I've done so much research. Like companies are just now starting to cater to this 4-wheel drive like Super C industry. And there's only really 3 options. It's like those guys. There's another one that's built on the new Ford.
Earth Roamer.
Well, Earth Roamer, yeah, if you're going to pay $500,000. Yeah. Which is, don't get me wrong, like Earth Roamer is awesome. It's badass.
Oh, yeah.
But what we're buying is like a kind of an Earth Roamer light in a way.
Everybody wants the Mercedes-Benz, the Sprinter 4-wheel drive.
That's not Class C though.
But I know, but I'm saying that's the fad, and people are finally realizing like, hey, I'd like to have 4-wheel drive and have space.
Well, and true 4-wheel drive because they're not. The Sprinters are that weird configuration. I forget what it's called, but it's like a 80/20, and it's not a full. You can only. If you go by the manual, you can only up to like 35 miles an hour. Yeah. They're not a true 4-wheel drive, and they're not that great.
What blows me away is the price of the Sprinters, too.
$100 grand later.
150 grand for like a well-built one. You're like, wow, that's a really nice motorhome.
Like a kidney.
Yeah.
So are you building this from the ground up, or are you?
This thing's coming from the factory ready to go.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you guys spec it?
So you can pretty much choose. There's a few options. You can choose like interior and a couple other things, but like the Explorer package is like the special paint scheme with the solar, with the insulated walls, with all that stuff. So it's really exactly what I wanted with everything ready to go. And then I'm gonna have Keith build me like kind of a cool rear end that's inspired by the Earth Roamer with like a rear bumper on it and you know the storage and a ladder and all that kind of stuff because we're gonna pull the side by side and need.
That's awesome.
So. It's pretty crazy.
I'm even more jealous now. I saw it.
I know. Yeah. The van life is one thing that some people could get on or get. You know, they're just that sounds awful. This sounds awesome.
Yeah, because it's space
and comfortable. Yeah.
Because I mean, as you know, my parents. My mom wants one of the Sprinter vans.
Well, now she wants one of those.
Yeah, and
I just know it yet.
Yeah.
I'm worried about those two driving a Sprinter van. I don't know if I want to put them in something bigger.
Well, at least they'll be the ones that are safe on the end.
Yeah,
of that.
Exactly. That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
That's neat. So, do you guys have the trip all planned, or is it just places you know you want to hit?
Loosely. So, like, the side-by-side stuff, my favorite thing is the sand dunes. So, like, we do that a lot. And so we have a dune trip that we go to every August. And so August is like our
Coos or whatever down there?
Yeah, it's near Coos Bay, just on the Oregon coast there. There's a lot of cool areas that we go to camp with. It's a huge group, and we've got people with Banshees and side-by-sides and all kind of stuff. And it's like, it reminds me of like Mad Max, but like also a family spin on it. And like you're burning gas the whole time. And like every time we go to the dunes, I cover like 500 miles in the Can-Am. And you look back and you're like, what was I, like, how much did I drive? How did I do that?
But it's Mad Max, but everybody's civilized and has dinner together.
A little bit. Exactly, yeah.
The parties in Glamis can get a little insane. They always have been.
Yeah. Haven't been there yet, but I've seen some wild videos out there.
Yeah.
The wildest party I've ever been to is out at Moses Lake in the dunes on the 4th of July. That was...
Moses Lake is... that's not a good dune experience.
No,
it's not.
No, it's
not.
That's the most I've ever on a weekend seen a helicopter land that many times. So,
also not real sand dunes. It's like volcanic ash and dirt. But
crap.
It's crap. If you've never been down to real dunes, I highly recommend
I've been down to Coos. We've got people down there. But that's incredible. But
So August, we have our dune trip, and then we're going to leave from there, and then we're going to head south, like towards Arizona. We've got some friends in Texas that we want to go visit, and then from there we're going to kind of cut over and work our way up through Utah, Wyoming, and all that, and then winter's going to come around, and then we're going to be chasing powder all winter. So
you'll be in the right area with Utah.
Yeah.
Anything around there, like that powder in Utah and Colorado and even Idaho actually is really good even compared to here because we get such wet snow here.
Yeah. Well, and you get a little bit more elevation in some of those other areas too. Like you mentioned Colorado. It's like I went and rode there 2 years ago, and you're like at 12,000 feet elevation. You're like, dude, this stuff's like sand. This is amazing.
Yeah.
You know?
Love that stuff.
So,
Aspen, Breckenridge, and Vail, they live up to the hype.
Yeah,
they all do right over there. Yeah.
That's why they charge so much.
Yeah.
That's still the most expensive gas I've ever bought was Aspen. $6 a gallon.
Well, was that Aspen's fault, or was that the way the GTR was tuned?
No. The GTR was tuned terribly, but Aspen, like, it's the only the gas station is nicer than most houses for one. It's a log cabin and it's beautiful, but it's $6 a gallon. It's the only game in town.
Yeah. Well, wait a couple of weeks; it'll be $6.
Yeah, we're on our way back.
We're close.
We're on our way.
Yeah.
Lucky us.
Lucky us.
I have to be careful now. I have to fill up at no less than quarter of a tank, or it caps off because it caps off at 100 at the pump.
I hate that.
So I can't go below a quarter of a tank because it's a 35-gallon tank.
You know what you need? It's a dual sport.
I have been riding the Monkey.
Yeah, I'll have to pick your guys' brain a little bit because I'm looking for. I don't know if I'm going to do a dual sport or what, but because we're not bringing a vehicle with us that's street legal, right? So
Honda Monkey.
Honda Monkey. Okay.
I mean, truthfully, he's not wrong in the fact that if you know that you're just going to be using it for running around town.
Not just that. I want it to do other things.
You can a dual sport. I mean, here's the thing: if you're going to be hauling a Can-Am, you've got room for a Monkey anywhere because a Monkey will fit in the front of a Can-Am.
Okay. Buy one and thank me later. Yeah. Everybody buys one is happy they did. He's like, this is ridiculous. Then they go ride it and they're like, I don't ever want to stop riding it. It's my favorite thing to ride.
It's called Honda Monkey. I'm already off to a great start.
Since we're spending your money, your girlfriend's going to want one too. She is.
Yeah.
I mean, the Honda Monkeys are great for going to the store and stuff like that. You can, but I mean, dual sport wise, if you know if you want to be doing off road and on road and stuff like that, there's do your research. Look at the Kawasaki. Look at the Suzuki. Look at the Hondas and stuff like that. But, I mean, it's the one thing you're going to want to look at more than anything is fuel mileage because a lot of these bikes, the dual sports, they only got like 1 or 2 gallon tanks.
Yeah, that's a problem.
And like the KLM's got almost 6 gallons, and I think the Suzuki's got 4.5. So, I mean, but you're still getting 40, 50, 60 miles a gallon. So you're still going to be able to do that. But weight is another thing. Is in the fact that I mean I'm sure Keith could build you a really nice rack for the back of that would lift that up and down. But if you're going to be hauling a trailer, it'd be very easy. I mean,
with the trailer. Well, so that's the thing though is like there's going to be times where the trailer's not going to be with us, and I want something that I can have a bike of some sort that's going to allow me to like run to town or whatever I need to do. And so, but you're right. Weight is 100% a big factor.
A light hitch mount bike.
Yeah,
you're not very big, so even like a well-tuned, a high-output 250 plus, the new CRF 300L is a really popular option.
I heard that Honda actually is now making a 250, but it's a 4-stroke that they offer, and I was like, that kind of sounds perfect because I rode a 450 in the dunes, and I was like, this is a lot.
The CRF is now the CRF 300 and 300L Rally.
Yeah,
they're hard to find.
Very hard to find.
It was on my list to find, and. They're nice. It's not a ton of power, but the bike is really nice. It's not carbureted, and it's a really neat bike.
It's really light. It's really quick for the size, and so they're really good. Everybody calls it like they're calling the Rally like the perfect dual sport because it fits that niche of fast enough to get you on the highway comfortably, but low enough to get you around the trails if you wanted to, and super lightweight. So, if you can find one, they're like $6 or $7 grand too, which is really cheap for what you're getting compared to like a KTM is going to be
12.
10 to 12 plus.
CRF 450 RL is the new dual sport in the 450 range, but that's still going to put you out probably 12. You can get into a Suzuki DR 650 for around 7, and you can get into the Kawasaki for around 7.
That's pretty reasonable.
392.
And Kawasaki just brought back the KLR, my bike, this year, the brand new one, and it's not carbureted anymore. There's a bunch of upgrades that they've done. So
it's a big bike, though.
Okay.
It's heavy.
Okay. We can talk bikes forever.
So buy a Monkey.
Listeners, write in.
Buy a Monkey.
Write in, email us, call us, tell us what we should talk about on bikes because we need to get more motorcycle guests in here. But yeah, I'm excited for your trip. You're going to be hitting all of my favorite places on the western side of the U.S. And yeah, I would move to Utah. Is definitely high in the places I would move to, not because of the lifestyle that comes with it. There's just so much to do there all the time. If you're an outdoor person, Utah is like your number one on your bucket list. You just don't know it yet.
That's what I've seen, and it kind of seems like their real estate's almost on par with where ours is right now.
Well, it depends where you go. Yeah, the tough part is like the only real airport's like Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
And like Moab is where I want to be, but you've got Grand Junction, Colorado. It's 2 hours away, or Salt Lake City, which is 2 hours away. But that's your closest airport. So it's not like, I mean, it's not too bad, but it's a long drive if you're just running in and out. I still want a place in Moab so bad, but it's expensive there. Anyway.
Only you. Nobody else wants to live.
Moab real estate is booming right now, so I think we're going to see another boom in Utah and Salt Lake City here pretty soon, actually, because it's like Idaho's running out of real estate. They were number one for a while, and now I think Utah's next.
Yeah.
So anyway,
people will discover Wyoming eventually.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, going back to the Achtuning side before we take our next break. suspension, brakes. Do you have a favorite of like which brands or brake upgrades you're doing, things like that? I know Yeah, tell me more about that, actually.
Yeah, I mean, Stop Tech has been like our number one, really, just because like for the overall cost and the performance that you get out of a big brake kit and the options that you have, you can get yourself a nice 6-piston kit and for not very much money, that's going to be a huge upgrade over what you have stock. And then also it allows you to easily switch pads in and out. So if you want to have a nice street pad that you've got and then you want to go to the track and switch it out, it's like 2 bolts and you put it in and out and you've got a fresh set of track pads on there.
Michelle Graff, I'm talking to you. I saw your post and you just toasted your pads on the track. Thank God you had a loaner set of brake pads. But yeah, I was thinking about that the other day. Is one of the things that the S3 Extra is pretty good brakes, better than I expected because the car is pretty small. But with every car I've ever driven, with the exception of like my Turbo S and my Z06, okay, not the Turbo S, they've all needed bigger brakes. Yeah, that's like one of those things. Like, why does especially trucks for that matter?
Trucks huge, yeah.
It pisses me off. Like the Raptor has terrible brakes for the size of the truck, and to get them an upgrade, you have to change the wheels because it comes with 17s which have like a notoriously like half-inch gap between the caliper and the wheel, so rocks get stuck in there all the time. Great move for a truck, Ford. But anyway,
there's no flex on those wheels, so you're fine.
What a lot of people don't realize is that, like, while a bigger caliper does help, some of the most important factors for being able to stop better is also pad compound.
Oh, yeah.
You have that, and then also, a higher temperature fluid, which a lot of people, they go to the track and they're like, I just melted my brakes. And it's like, well, you also don't realize that a lot of these cars have really intrusive traction and stability control, and even though you don't know it, it actually is applying. Yeah, it's applying the brakes the whole time, and it's saving you. It's keeping the car straight, but that's why your brakes are melting.
Yep.
And so there's so many different factors that go into that, and a lot of our customers, it's funny because they try to tiptoe this line of like, I want a track car that's like does all the track things, but I want a street car that does all the street things the right thing, and it's like, okay.
A lady in the street and a freak in the bed.
Yeah, that's called money. Yeah, that's what supercars.
You can have that,
from.
Right?
You can just have multiple cars.
Yes,
exactly.
You can.
Exactly.
Your track Miata and your street Miata, and you're actually in the cheapest, probably the most efficient way to go. But yeah, we've talked about that on the show a few times. Like what you're paying for a lot when it comes to supercars is the ability to do both. Because people don't realize how expensive that is to make a car that can do both.
It's like an ultimate all-season tire. It's like it does everything, and it does everything well. And but the S3, your car specifically, that chassis that's built on the MQB chassis, they're just such great cars. They handle so well right out of the box. But when you start actually kind of doing some small things here and there to them, they can be phenomenal. So even if people don't want to lower the car down and they want to maintain their ground clearance, getting yourself a set of front and rear sway bars and getting yourself, more than anything on these cars, in my opinion, that makes the biggest difference is getting camber dialed into the front, because they don't have enough camber, so the tire wear is really poor right at the box.
Push a lot.
They understeer terribly, but that's also because that's a product of the Haldex system. So the Haldex all-wheel drive system isn't like a lot of the all-wheel drive systems. Like a lot of people that have Subarus are familiar with the symmetrical all-wheel drive, which is great. I love the symmetrical all-wheel drive system. So when I had my Golf R, one of my favorite things that I did is I got a Haldex controller that completely changed the way that Haldex all-wheel drive system worked. So what it did was it applied 100% of available torque to the rear wheels under active driving. So now, suddenly under braking and acceleration and even coasting, the amount of torque that is being transferred to the rear wheels from the all-wheel drive system was significantly greater. So now the car doesn't understeer as much. Now I can actually get the car to oversteer, and I can get it to rotate and get it to handle a lot better. So there's things that you can do to make these cars a lot more neutral, because admittedly they do understeer terribly and they have bad tire wear out of the box, but it's totally fixable. Like you can change those things and get yourself a car that is really transformed. So there's even things like we sell a kit called Eurosport Camber Kit, and it replaces your strut mounts on top, and it allows us to get, it's basically 2 degrees of camber without having something that's super clunky and noisy like what you'll find from a lot of camber mounts that a lot of people are used to. So that noise isn't there, but now you have this camber in a car that actually has much more progressive and much more responsive turn-in, and something that feels a lot better to drive on the street and on the track.
Yeah, so rear sway bar is usually what I tell people to start with on these chassis. But yeah, I didn't think about the camber mounts. That makes a lot of sense,
Yeah, well, and a lot of people like to do just a rear bar, and I can understand the approach there, but I really think you should do a front and rear bar, because if you have a front end that's just super soft and the rear's stiff, it's just the feel there is not linear. So when you get front and rear bar, especially because a lot of our front bars are actually adjustable, you get something that just feels a lot more neutral, and then you can dial out that understeer and give yourself a car that just is way more fun to drive.
I will say, when I put the bars in the BMW, the Dynan, even though they were not adjustable, night and day.
Oh, yeah.
And I wasn't even tracking it. I was just driving it hard around the city. But, how much it stiffened it and how much that it just – and my tire wear changed, everything. It was incredible.
Well, when they build these cars, they try and build them for a broad audience. If you want to be a more performance-oriented driver, going to a stiffer sway bar is going to definitely help with that. It's going to take away from some of the softer aspects of the car, but not in a way that's bad, in my opinion.
No, it's just body. It's roll.
Yeah, it's roll. And so, it's I don't know. Some people can find it abrupt, I guess. I can think of some drivers that would just be like, why is it so tight and twitchy? Twitchy is what they would probably call it, but it's not. If you like performance driving and you like spirited adventures in the back roads, you will love this. Yes. Yeah. If you're a spirited driver, I highly recommend sway bars. I've done them on a lot of cars and they've been worth it. So.
Yeah, well, and the thing about especially the S3 and the Golf R, the suspension out of the box actually is really pretty good. And if you're okay with the height, adding just those bars alone to get rid of that roll is a really good combination, and a lot of our customers are super happy with that, and they're like, wow, this is a completely different car to drive now. Like, this is way better.
Now I want a Golf R.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, you should get one. You should get the Mark 8, though. So the really cool thing, I don't know how much you guys know about the new Mark 8 that's coming out. So the Mark 8 is actually a completely different all-wheel drive system. They're getting away from the Haldex system, and they're actually doing a torque vectoring system. So they're basically doing what Ford did with the Focus RS, and also they're including, like Ford did, the drift mode. So now you can actually change.
That's the last thing I need.
You can It's exactly what you need.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You can change the vectoring. So now you can have like an 80-20 or 70-30 split, which is going to be awesome. And then the new Golf R is actually coming with a little bit more power. The facelift look that they've done is it's a face that most mothers would only love from what we've seen from photos so far.
They took some notes from BMW.
They did with the new
punch
grills.
It in the face.
I think once it's in person, I think it's going to grow on people like most things. I saw it.
I don't think it looks as bad as some people are saying, but it doesn't look. I think it doesn't look as good. But whatever.
For sure.
Yeah. We're overdue for our next break. We'll take a quick one and we'll be right back.
We spend an average of 8 hours and 41 minutes a day facing screens. Laptops, smartphones, tablets, even digital refrigerators. But what are we really connected to? Isn't it time you connected to something greater? Sometimes the best way to connect is to disconnect. This moment of escape was created by Haggerty for people who love cars.
And we're back. You guys, Achtuning is an Avance partner, I believe.
Yeah.
Is it 10% off services, or what is it?
10% off labor. And then, I always give people deals. Like, we've had a lot of customers come through that want BBS wheels because we're a dealer for them.
Oh, yeah.
And so I always just try to make sure that we're beating whatever price we can see online, and we're taking care of people, and they're happy with the experience. Avance it's funny because Adam came to us really, really early on, before Avance was anything like what it was today, and it was the ride-sharing program.
Oh, yeah.
And we were super apprehensive, and I remember, thinking, I don't know if we want to be a part of, people sharing other people's cars that we don't know and all this stuff, and I was like, I don't know. We were just – I liked Adam as a person, and I liked where he was going with stuff, but the ride-sharing thing was – we weren't sure. And then he kind of started to evolve it, and we were like, okay, we definitely need to be a part of this. We think this community is neat, and what Adam's got going is awesome.
Yeah, it exploded now.
Exploded, and it's such a unique, I've actually never really been a super big car community guy because some of that stuff.
They're usually terrible.
They're usually terrible, and I don't know. I didn't really like that. And Avance has been a complete game changer in that. It's just a community where it's one of a kind for sure. So we're really excited to be a part of that.
I unapologetically joke about there's two sides of this. There's Avance, and then there's Seattle Cars and Coffee, which is just a shit show of everything wrong with the car community, and then Avance, which is everything right with the car community.
Everything right, yeah, for sure.
Yep. Can't say it better.
Yeah, I'm unapologetic with that because that's just a cesspool.
And we pride ourselves because I think we're the number one referrer for Avance. We've gotten so many customers to get on board with it just because it's a community thing. It gets people excited to hang out with other people that are somewhat like-minded but different cars without having that other side of things that you don't like about car groups.
Yeah, and Avant took its name from the Audi Avant wagon.
Yep.
So
what?
I know.
Never heard that.
That's so strange.
Yeah.
Fun fact.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you are an Avant...
Speaking of what's going on with Avants.
If you are an Avants partner, you're going to want to check out the Avants Stu's Garage DIY series. They're doing brakes. That is Wednesday the 2nd from 6 to 7:30 at Stu's Garage, and you can learn how to change your pads and rotors, how to properly bleed your brakes, and more. That's still the one thing I won't do for people is I won't bleed their brakes. I'll do my own, but I won't bleed somebody else's. Like, that's on you.
Yeah, it's a liability.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'll do the pads and the rotors, and that's it.
When is the next off-road event with Brandon Ben Powell?
That will be the 19th with Brandon Ben Powell.
June 19th with Brandon Ben Powell. Good to know.
Have a drink with Brandon Ben
Brandon
Powell.
Ben Powell. Yeah, come on out and see Brandon Ben Powell. He loves that. So, yeah. Yep.
We should bring Rainier into that. I don't know if I'll be back for that, but Nick should
I'll be there.
Yeah, Nick will be there. I
with
won't be
Brandon
there.
Ben Powell.
There was a dyno day that was just before that, but there's another one coming up on the 26th of June. So for those people who missed the first one, you missed out, but 26th of June will be another dyno day. And there's a track day, a lapping day at Pacific Raceways on the 24th. So lots of good stuff coming up.
Excellent.
Yeah, you should take the Tundra out.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I'm going to keep that one at home, but I'll bring the Can-Am.
Some slicks on the Can-Am.
You can bring the Can-Am.
So that
would actually be fun.
That's actually on the docket. So I'm inspired by a picture I saw. A guy had like slammed, and he put legit slicks on it, and I was like, oh, I absolutely have to do that now. So you can do that. A friend of mine even has a set of slicks for me. I just got to find the right set of wheels for it.
I don't know if they'd be that hard.
It's not. It's really not that big of a
Probably
deal.
cheap, too.
Yeah,
I mean,
you just got to get the right set of wheels, and you're good. And bring probably an extra belt. Cause
I was going to say a couple extra belts, and you're good to go.
I've blown one belt so far, and then I kind of learned my lesson of like, okay, there's a threshold. But
yeah, with all that traction, I would imagine it's even harder on it.
Well, it's in the sand dunes too, like my big, huge rear paddles, and it's just the heat out there. It's really heat more than anything.
Oh, yeah.
So
interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's a fix for that.
You can get a belt temp gauge, and that helps you to like kind of regulate how hot you're getting things.
Or you could just drive normal.
Yeah. Well, good luck.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
I wouldn't either.
The temp gauge, is that just like a laser sensor pointing at it and reading the temperature constantly?
Yeah.
No, it's a guy in the back seat with one of those temperature gauges going 107.
It's hot.
Yeah, it's hot.
Slow down.
I'm seeing smoke. Give me that fire stick. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, that's a great place for when we don't want a giant metal bottle. You can grab one of those fire sticks, clip it on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Excellent.
All right. If people want to get a hold of you at Achtuning.
Yep. My email is zach@achtuning.com, or you can just give us a call. Our phone number is super easy, 425-895-0000. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, whatever you need to do to reach out to us. We can definitely help you out.
Excellent. Thanks for coming in. We appreciate it.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
I'm sure we will be in touch.
Yeah.
So I'll talk to you soon about
good.
Audi mods, or someone else will.
Yeah, bring it by.
For this episode of Rain City Supercars, I'm Nick.
I'm Dan, and don't just get there. Enjoy the drive.